welcome to episode number 12 of the BK Show podcast. Today I'm joined by my good friend AJ Yager. AJ is the co-founder of PraxisMetrics.com, where they help build out data systems for e-commerce businesses so that you know what are the right levers you should be pulling in your business. They worked with businesses such as Onnit, Black Rifle Coffee Company, Organifi, and tons more. AJ really knows what he's talking about. So if you're an e-commerce operator, pay attention to this episode. AJ's got a really cool story, and we also deep dive into the metrics you need to be paying attention to in your e-commerce store. I can't recommend AJ, his fiance Megan, and Praxis Metrics enough, so I hope you enjoy this episode with AJ Yager. Quick little housekeeping note here. If you have your phone out, open up iTunes and leave a review. I would appreciate it very, very much. Also, you can find all the notes from this show and anything else you want to know about the BK Show at thebkshow.com. And I'm trying to grow the newsletter, so click the little link at the top. Join my newsletter. I won't email very often, but when I do, it'll be important. So I appreciate the reviews. I appreciate you joining the email list. And please enjoy this episode with my good friend, AJ Yager. Hey, welcome to the show, AJ. How you doing, buddy?
Fantastic, man. It's always good to catch up with you, and I'm excited to dig into whatever we're going to dig into.
Well, I'm glad to have you on. I met you at Elliot Rowe's Mastermind. So Elliot was on episode 5. If you want to check him out, he is a performance coach. I met you at his mastermind in this luxurious mansion in Salt Lake City, and I don't know, I was captivated by you. I enjoyed our conversations. I enjoyed meeting Megan as well, your partner, and I just knew I wanted to have a further chat with you and learn more about you. You seem like you have an interesting past.
Thank you, man. You and I definitely hit it off like almost right away. And I think were you and Megan partners on that first activity or one of the activities?
I don't know if we were partners, but she immediately stood out to me as like almost a female version of me. I guess like she has similar mental struggles to what I have, I guess. And so I just immediately took a shining to her, and I was like, I'm going to like this girl too, I think.
Yeah, it was so fun. Elliot's been such a great connector, and it was a lot of fun to get to know you during that mastermind, and obviously we got a lot of synergy. Like, you were one of my favorite people of that event, and I was so glad that as a new member, you really helped level that up. So, yeah, man, I'm happy to know you.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. Just to help the listener out, I got invited for free. Hey, how would you like to come to an event for free? Sure, who's going to be there? And Elliot starts naming off like some pretty big names that I don't think I should mention, but prominent names, UFC fighters, things like that. And I was like, oh my God, like, why am I in this room? And he's like, you belong in this room. And so I showed up. I think I'm the only one who didn't stay at the house, which is totally me. I just don't like sharing spaces. I want to stay at the hotel. So I Ubered in the morning, and I walked in. I saw Kayvon's face, and I was like, oh, thank God, I know somebody here. Like, I was so nervous. But yeah, I'm so glad I took the opportunity. There was a part of me that wanted to say no. I was scared.
I remember this,
to come in there, and man, I'm glad I said yes. And I ended up joining the mastermind after that. Right? I had done one-on-one work with Elliot, but I didn't know if I belonged in that room, if I'm honest.
And you definitely did. And isn't it funny how us as entrepreneurs, like, we can have that sometimes imposter syndrome no matter what we've succeeded with. I've heard really, really majorly uber successful people, more successful than I on a number of different fronts, like, have the same thing happen to them. It's all this different level stuff. But I'm glad that you brought that up at the event, and we talked about it. And we're like, no, dude, you were definitely meant to be here, because you gave so much good feedback to people and continue to add value on all of our calls. So kudos. Imposter syndrome, man. I'm literally laying in bed last night, a little high, maybe, but I was battling it, and more so nowadays I see it, and so I'll feel it come in, and I'll get a little tense. Then I'll be like, oh, that's that asshole that comes in every once in a while and tells me, who are you to do this? You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. And then I'll brush it away. And then there's nights like last night where it just kept coming. I'm like, I just need to go to bed. Like, imposter syndrome.
Shut
it up.
A beast, man.
Yeah, it's a battle. I think I've gotten better at it. And as soon as it sneaks in, you notice it. And it's like, and if it gets bad for me, what I do is I call somebody who's a buddy, like you, like any other successful person, or whoever they are, just like to get me out of that and just have a great conversation around something, or always go right back and remember, hey, when's that most confident time, or when's something amazing that happened in your life, AJ, talking to myself, that you were like super proud of and that made you feel worthy. It's like, when I asked Megan to marry me, and like certain things that, like, as soon as I go there, boom, that shuts off.
Huh. I'm going to have to hit you up for some advice then. But you asked Megan to marry you? I didn't know that. That's amazing. Congratulations.
I did. Thank you. Yeah.
That's
I proposed.
That a boy.
That was It's been a little while. We're supposed to get married this year, in Portugal, but COVID happened, and then nobody wants U.S. people to come to their countries right now, so that's being postponed. But that was one of the best days of my life. Was when literally is the best day of my life so far in my life when I got to ask her in Germany in German as a surprise. And so that is, whether it's business or personal, when I go back to that memory, I charge up, I get goosebumps, and whatever the heck I was thinking about is like gone, and I'm at like a whole new level. So I think we got to find those triggers that help get our mindset right to realign.
Well, speaking of Megan, also met her at Elliot's Mastermind, and something stood out to me right away from both of you guys was like, you were up early every morning making her tea and breakfast, and I asked you, I'm like, well, that's really nice of you, and you were like, look, she does things well that I don't do well, and I do things well that she doesn't do well. I'm a morning person. She's not a morning person. And so I'm happy to wake up and take care of her this way and know that she'll take care of me later in the day. And honestly, your relationship, not just that moment, just that couple days with you guys, that really stuck with me of like, oh man, like I got to step my game up. This AJ guy knows what he's doing. Pretty cool, man. I'm sure I'm not the first person to tell you that.
No, you're not. I appreciate that. It's to me like I am. So I don't know if you read the book, the 5 Love Languages. Great book. But Megan and I actually like really take that to heart and actually became very data driven about it. But she loves service. She loves to be served. So like instead of gifts and all that, it's like service. So I know that there's certain things in my life, happy wife, happy life type thing. Like there's certain things that if I do those, it is providing so much love and care to her, especially in the morning when she takes a little bit longer to ease into the day than I do. But if I do those, I'm starting off the day right for both of us. And also because we're business partners, also for the business. So we can start our mornings off and own those in a great way, whether it's making her tea or coffee or just whatever those things are, then I know that that's serving both of us in the long run and keeping our relationship right, like no fights and that kind of stuff in check. So that's just part of my strategy.
Well, I look up to you in that factor for sure. Like I took a lot of notes personally in a notebook of like, oh, AJ's doing this. I'm gonna write this down. Like I was seriously impressed, man. So kudos to you. But I didn't know. I don't think I knew what the love language was until like about a year ago. And since then, I've implemented it in my relationship. But we also implemented it at one of my old businesses of really having our team take that. And boy, that's eye opening to realize what some people appreciate, right? Like some people want that act of service or physical touch, and some people don't want the physical touch, or they want words of praise. Or it was really eye opening. That's a fantastic book, not just for relationships, but for business. Is that something you guys do at Praxis as well?
Yeah, it is very much so. And I have part of our keynote when Meg and I are speaking together. One of the things we tell is about like how we became data driven in our life. In our relationship. And it's really funny because Meg and I literally have had like 2 fights in our whole life. We don't have fights. We use the capital C, which is communication, like all the time. So we're very real with each other. We've done a lot of practice on this. But one of the fun stories was, earlier in our relationship, Megan was getting a little cold towards me. She's not the most cuddly, lovey person all the time. She's got some walls and she's got some, she's very logic based, very left brained in a lot of ways. And love to cuddle. I'm very happy. And there's things in our life that I can just stay really, really positive all the time. Well, there's a point where I'm trying to remember which, it doesn't matter which fight it was, but basically I hadn't had much love. I didn't have my love tank filled up. I'm a physical touch and words of affirmation. And my battery was low. And when my battery goes too long, like a week or 2 without getting that fill up because of business or because of whatever's going on, then I'll get like, I'm like, hey, I need some love here. I need something else. And so that can become kind of nagging a little bit. And she's like, no, this is your own stuff. You need to go figure that out. You need to go use your self-development and, go figure that on your own. And that would not really jive too well with us. And so that's where we had some significant discussions there. But what we realized, and this is not blaming Megan at all, she knows how to tell the story as well. We started to put some data to it. So what we would do is track, when I was getting my battery down low, what was actually going on there. And she didn't realize how that when my battery gets that low, I start to get needy and I start wanting to ask things. And I get aggravated, and then I'm distracting her from other things. And so by her tracking that in one of our little apps we have, she started to realize, oh my God, I'm not giving him as a lover, as a relationship. Like, I'm not giving what he needs. I'm just being really cold. And so we used data to completely fix that and change that in our relationship, just by tracking certain things and having an honest conversation about them. And we've never had to do that. So what she did, taking action from that data, was that she scheduled time on her phone. So she took her phone out, set an alarm for 3:33 p.m. in the afternoon every single day. Her alarm would go off and said, "Go touch and love AJ." And I don't care where I was in the house. I would hear that alarm go off, and I knew I was going to get my fill. And the fact that she took the time, love, and respect to schedule and take an action to fix that thing we were having a problem with, I didn't care if there was an alarm. I knew what I was going to get, and it became a new habit for us. So she doesn't have to have that anymore. But if she gets too far away from it, I'm like, hey, what's going on here? So using data and the 4 love languages was kind of a cool way for us to solve one major problem in our relationship that really hasn't come back before. So I just wanted to share that.
There's 2 points there. Number one, I'm also a puppy dog. I need to be patted on the head and told I've been a good dog. But it's funny that the reminder goes off and you were happy. A friend of mine, Troy, told me he has like an Asana board for his wife. Anytime she mentions like, it'd be cool to go there, he chucks it in his Asana board. And then he also has a reminder every day, like once a month, pull something out of the Asana board and say, hey, should we go here? This sounds like a great place, right? And it seems like a surprise to her. And then also a reminder to tell her she looks great or he loves her or whatever. And so I immediately put that into action. I set a reminder for 6:30 p.m. And it wasn't 7 days in before Heather was like, hey, why you always look at your phone and then tell me you love me in the evening? And I was like, oh crap, and so I had to adjust what time I put that on there. But it's a good idea to just put a little reminder. And it's just, easy to get complacent, right? It's easy to forget. It's easy to get used to your routine and forget there's someone else there with needs.
It totally is. Yeah, you got to randomize the alarm sometimes. But yeah, it's just building new habits in the relationship.
I love how you went with data though. So what's the app? Because now I kind of want to download this app too. Track someone's ups and downs.
So this is one I've been using and Megan's been using for a while. And I track a lot of stuff, way more than most people need to track. But we were using Coach.me. It's been around for a while. Actually, Tim Ferriss a long time ago really brought it up. And it's just a habit tracker. So you could say like, hey, I want to brush my teeth every single day. Start with that one. And every day you just swipe it and it tracks. And the more you do it, the longer or the more on fire you get, and you want to keep that momentum going. So there's certain things we would add in there. And so that's what she was using at that time.
Nice. So like you guys aren't just partners, you are business partners too, right? And sounds like a great time to dive in there. Tell me what is that working relationship like? Like you guys obviously, I know a whole lot more behind the scenes, right? We're in a mastermind together. And I can see the tugging and pulling, in both directions, right? But I'm sure that's the few and far between, and that most things are great, right? But there's probably some other stuff most people aren't thinking of. What is it like to work with your partner on a daily basis? And how do you not bring that home?
I love it. I actually really wouldn't have it any other way. She and I are so complementary, and in terms of the way our brains work and how we think about things, it's like that 50-50 relationship. We truly are coming at an equal exchange of value there to the business. She's brilliant. She's wicked smart in very different ways. And she and I, the kind of the story was, I had a Yager Media Group was my marketing agency. We were building sales funnels for different brands, thought leaders. And she had come from a sales background. So I respect this woman like mad. She went door to door, knocking on doors, selling encyclopedias in a Google world. And she crushed at it. Now, she didn't crush at it at first, but she learned the discipline, the hard work, how to take no's, how to split test different things. Like that's some of the hardest work you do one by one in a digital age. Whereas in my world, it was, we can push send and hit 500,000 people and do a launch and like, boom, see all the money come in. We were building these kind of funnels. So our worlds collided from love first. Then we're like, well, what do you do? What do I do? And we were merging those worlds. And I showed her, it was actually a launch with Mike Dillard, our buddy who's also in the mastermind. And he was doing a launch. And I said, well, there's the funnel we built. Here's what it's going out to. Watch. And I had the live analytics up. As you can see, people open the email, go to this page, purchase $1,500 each. And then she's like, they're stacking up. And she literally cried that day. She was like, what have I been doing with my life? I've been knocking door to door, one by one. What is this whole digital marketing world? Teach me. And so I just shared with her what we were doing. And she's such a fast learner, and being data driven, she came into this with accountability. Really, she's so good with numbers, so finance and project management. So she worked with me in my company. And then what we started realizing very quickly was, there's something here. We wanted to build a business that allowed us to continue to travel and be digital nomads and remote workers, but not me be the smartest person in the room, build something that's scalable so we can hire smarter people. So we pivoted and created Praxis Metrics because anybody could do the marketing agency stuff. We decided we want to double down on data and helping companies, organizations become more data driven. And so that's how we pivoted and said, look, I want to do this right. We're going to be partners in this. And so we started a new company after we incubated it with our own money and our own profits, and we're equal partners in that. So from the get-go, we established a foundation of success and exit and what we would do if things go wrong and if things go right to start that relationship out. And I think that's foundation for any partnership, whether you're married to the person or not.
Yeah, I'm literally bringing on partners as we speak right now. I'm bringing on a couple people into my pets business, and that's the first thing I said to them. We need to get divorced before we get married. We need to figure out exactly what this looks like while we're both smiling at each other of what this looks like if it goes bad right now. I want to dive into Praxis a little bit, especially for e-commerce businesses, as I am one, and I want you to tell me all the good things I should be doing. But do you mind if we go back? Like, I'm curious where you started. So I talked to you a little bit at the mastermind. You mentioned Golf Fuel, which I was part of a golf business at the time, and so we geeked out a little bit on that. But I would imagine you've done a lot of things. Just looking at you on Facebook and LinkedIn, like you're friends with all of the big names in all of the industries, and so I would assume you've been around the block. Like, take me back. Where does it start? And walk me through some of the cool stuff you've done.
Oh man, taking me back. Well, thank you. I just love people, and I love being surrounded by cool people doing cool stuff. My entrepreneurial journey, like to kind of give you the beginning, like I've never had a job in my life except for being an intern and just kind of learning from certain companies, but I've always been entrepreneurial. And my grandfather was my best friend in the whole world. And he inspired me at an early age to read a book, watch a video, or listen to an audio tape on things that he gave me, like from Tony Robbins to Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich to, Dennis Waitley's Psychology of Winning, and all of these different programs that were like Nightingale Conant or other books at that time. He created a program where every single week he challenged me to read these, and we would go through them together, and I'd write down what I learned. And so he started my entrepreneurial self-development journey super young. I was like 10 years old. Wow. And that fueled me to start looking at life and life in a different way than at a young age. And so I started AJ's Odd Job service. I started going out and just earning $5 an hour. At that time, it was a lot of money to a 10-year-old because I just thought $5 was a good job. And I went around and hand out pamphlets and brochures. And so I started picking up business there. And so I started early, just jumping in and not knowing what I did, but having a mentor like my grandfather, the support of my parents to help like figure things out as I went. And I got into technology. So I started a computer business, started building computers from scratch at, I don't know how, it was 12, 13, 14, no, 15, I think 15 or 16. I started building computers from scratch. Wanted to be like a Michael Dell at that time. And then I remember charging $75 an hour in high school, helping baby boomers learn how to figure out their computer and how to use basic Microsoft applications in their life and their email. And I have a lot of patience. And so I love working with people. And I noticed, well, I don't want to be building computers. I don't want to be coding because I learned how to code being in front of a computer all the time. Like, I love people, but I also understand technology and how to speak nerd, but also do it in a cool way that people understand. Sure. So that was a lot of learning for me. I did. I was successful. I made money. I lost money. Learned my lessons. And then as I learned more about people.
Sorry to interrupt, but how cool is that your grandpa did that? Like, you're giving me ideas right now. Literally 3 days ago or whatever, I got married, right? I have a couple stepkids now. And man, I would love to instill I don't care if they're entrepreneurs. I want to instill entrepreneurial values in them, that you create the value in the world, have empathy, have kindness, care about other people. You know what I mean? And like, how cool is that? Is your grandpa still around? Do you get to read?
No, not unfortunately, he's not. I talk to him all the time in my dreams, in my thoughts, in my head. He did. It was such a gift for me. And And I honestly, you literally, by the way, we skipped over something there. Congratulations on getting married. Congratulations on that. That's so phenomenal. You just barely mentioned it in passing the other day, but we have a lot to catch up on. So we'll talk about that offline then. So congrats.
Thanks.
He created such a program, and I went and interviewed my grandfather before he passed away. It's like a 2-hour interview almost about his life, who he was growing up, because I wanted to share this with my family and other people. And it's like called Conversations with Pop-Up. His name was Gideon D. Hill Jr., but his name was I called him Pop-Up. All the kids called him Pop-Up. And I got to interview him, and I created it's like, hey, here's a way that a grandfather reached out to a grandson and created a relationship that was really unique, and how other grandparents can go do the same. I had like a smartgrandparenting.com website, one of my entrepreneurial ventures. So I've got this audio, and I actually should release it just to put content out and just share it with people, because I think that would actually be cool. Maybe it's like a mini podcast series I could do or something, but there's a lot of life lessons there. And he taught me and instilled entrepreneurial values, but yet let me be free to go create what I was going to create. And he was a great mentor. He wasn't a coach because I didn't pay him or anything, but he was a mentor, and he was always a few steps ahead of me. And so he'd always have books or audios or something lined up, or articles with notes on them to help me on my journey. And so I missed that incredibly. I lost him 6 or 7 years ago, but man, what a treat to have a grandfather that was such a mentor. And those who are listening who have had someone in their life like that, I bet they're shaking their head yeah, it's really amazing to have that.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever heard of someone having them read the books you mentioned though, right? Those are powerful books. Reading Think and Grow Rich, and not having someone turn it into a bunch of the secret stuff, right? They actually talk about the lessons you can learn from there, and not that you can just write $1 million check and paste it on your wall and sit back and wait, right? There's actual real lessons in there, but to be able to learn those things at 10 years old and share that with somebody who hopefully had the wisdom to explain it in a 10-year-old voice, that's incredible, man. I'm jealous. Yeah,
I mean, it goes in, right? Kids' minds are incredible. I don't have kids yet. We're looking forward to that one day, but just the way that it sucks in unconsciously, that stuff was, whether I knew it, understand it or not, him going through it with me, and my parents helping with my discipline, making sure, hey, did you do your 30 minutes a day and read it? And then ask, well, what did you learn today? And just having to regurgitate that at a young age was super helpful, and just install this stuff at an early age. So I think that's really important. I look forward to being able to do that with our kids too.
Yeah, it's 100% going on my to-do list. These kids are only 5 right now, but yeah, that's really cool, man.
I'll send you that interview. I'll get you that. I know I digitized it, but I also have old CDs. If people don't know what those are, CDs, CD-ROM. But I actually would share that. I think you would get a lot out of that. So I'll make sure I do that for you.
It's funny you say, I don't know if they know what I literally found an old CD that I want to get onto MP3, right? So I can listen to it on my Mac. And I pulled it out of my drawer, and one of the, Isaac was next to me, the little kid, and he was like, what is that? And I'm like, this is where music lived when I was younger. And then I pulled out a cassette, and I'm like, this was before that. And he's like, what? They have Alexas in the room at 5 years old, and they're just like, Alexa, play this, right? And so it's crazy how the world has changed. And yeah, CDs. But yeah, please send that to me though, man. That'd be awesome to listen to.
I will. I'm going to find that one. I will.
So you mentioned having that domain, right? Are you a domain hoarder as well?
Smart grandparents or smartgrandparenting.com. I forget which one I had or have. But it was an info product, early attempt at an info product. I went to AARP, which is American Association of Retired Persons. Huge for baby boomers and everything. And I went I set up a booth, and I sold a bunch of CDs there. And it was a whole business I wanted to create, but the market really wasn't there at that time. So I sold, I don't know, a few hundred CDs. But the good thing is I've got my grandfather on a CD-ROM.
Yeah. No, I want a copy, and I want to hear more stories of these little attempts. Yeah, that's amazing, man. Are you a domain hoarder too, or are you just buy?
Yeah, I was. And then it got expensive. So I sold a bunch, or just said, what am I really trying to do here? So I've got maybe 30 or 40 now.
I think every entrepreneur does. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So where did it go from there, right? So you talked about, doing some odd jobs, and I don't know if you got much farther than that in your story before I kindly interrupted you.
No, that was a great segue. I started building businesses. I got into technology, built a computer business called Impact Technologies. It was training people and building systems and kind of school I would do it for schools. I would build computer labs. So we would build computer labs. So definitely was super nerdy, but like, I like to think I was like Will Smith, where he says in Men in Black, he's like, you know what the difference is between you and me? He's like, I make this look good. So I was like, I could talk dirty or like nerdy data stuff, but I was like, I got on a soccer team and played sports. So I kind of bridged this gap between being likable, I think, but also then like being able to be efficient and productive and like understand technology and how like all this stuff can work together. So I think that's been one of my secret powers, which kind of leads to the later data stuff. But I started a magazine in Long Beach. I started the Long Beach magazine a while ago, and I was 21. Yeah. I moved to Long Beach at that time. I saw newspapers, and I was new to the area. Although I knew some of my buddies at Long Beach State, I was like, how do I get to know people here? Like, what do I, I was just 21 and I was new to the area. I was like, there's no magazine here. I love magazines. I've published books at that time before. I had started a Life Force Enterprises. I started like being like a young Tony Robbins and started speaking on stages and building up my email list, and created like a book where I interviewed 50 different people, and I created life advice. So I'd always been like entrepreneurial info product guy, wanted to be a young Tony Robbins. And then it took me to, I've published books. How hard could it be to publish a magazine? And so I just kind of went in and did it. Long Beach Magazine, 21, and I think we sold it, I started it and went to like, I was 26 or something. I had got investors involved and a couple partners from Canada, Adam and Matthew Torn, two awesome guys, great entrepreneurs. They owned multiple magazines, so we kind of put it all under one kind of roof. So I learned a ton then, but I loved the ability to reach a lot of people. Right now we're on a podcast now. We can jump on Zoom, record this, and we're going to be able to reach thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people eventually, which is so fun. And so I think that was like, I can see how technology and information can be packaged in a way to really like help change lives. So that was kind of the route that I really started going down, was building businesses that had influence and allowed me to reach a lot of people.
So what, you briefly mentioned Life Force and wanting to be the next Tony Robbins. I think you got the looks for it. You're a good looking man. And you're able to speak pretty well. Like, what happened to that? You just, Long Beach magazine took off and you gave up on your dreams of being the next Tony Robbins?
Yeah. I was at a time when, what was his name? Dr. Phil was huge, and his son wrote a book, and I read it. I was like, oh, I can do better than this. And I wrote a book and I self-published it. It was called Finding the Force.
Is it still out there?
Maybe. I think it was like, the first book was, who am I? Where am I going? How am I going to get there? I did 3-book series, and I loved publishing those books. And then I was speaking, but the youth, the young people I was trying to reach, like, didn't have any money. And so I was like, okay, well then I needed to go to parents, and like the parents had the money. And so at that time, self-development for young people and entrepreneurs just wasn't a big enough thing. And I was like, well, I'm going broke here. I'm not going to keep doing this. So I figured, you know what, I'm going to focus on business, get my name bigger, make more money in something different, and then come back to this. I want to help people. I
think you could pull that off right now, right? Like, I don't know if you play around on TikTok at all, but there is a ton of air quote guru. There's a bunch of people who are fake as hell, but there's a bunch of, gurus on there. And I think that the younger generation is truly into self-development, and they're much kinder than I remember me and other kids being when I was their age, right? Like, I think you can pull it off again.
That's an interesting thought. Like, I honestly haven't. I've been so focused in building businesses and doing what Megan and I are doing now that I know I've always known I want to come around to it, whether it's a nonprofit or something to help young people develop that self-discipline and that self-development mindset. So yeah, maybe this is a spark for something there. But I definitely don't have time for that quite yet. I haven't even been on really TikTok very much. Oh man, kids these days doing all sorts of platforms.
I think you're running out of time before either Microsoft buys it or it goes away for good anyway. So
yeah, true. So much is happening. So yeah, I was speaking and doing all that and still love to speak, but I think all of that was a really great foundation with technology and the ability to publish, which then turned into other individual businesses. I was with my dad, and my dad's a farm boy from Kansas. He grew up, I grew up on the farm. I learned discipline by working on the farm early on, early mornings, transplanting, doing all that stuff in the orchards. And so my dad and I ended up starting a hydroponic business, teaching hydroponics. Now at that time, there's a lot of people growing weed that we thought were just tomato growers. Sure. And my dad's a PhD, like he's a soil doctor. He's very smart and very, very successful at helping farmers increase their yield and their connectivity and helping farmers basically run a better farm. But in this, at that time online, it was mainly just people wanting to grow weed. So we had an interview series, and we had like a $97 a month product where we were talking about hydroponics and how to grow better and how to get better yields. And so that was pretty cool. And then my dad's like, these are all people growing weed. We probably need to not associate ourselves with this right now. Obviously everything's changed now. That was years ago. So we've done other little projects like that, but then I got brought into, with Golf Fuel. You mentioned that earlier on, and buddy Josh Bozzoni and I, he's one of the founders of BioTrust. We started Golf Fuel, which is like sports supplements for golfers, like high grade, high quality, focus, hydration, even proteins and all that, and building out a great brand online. And that was my first time really getting into going from the digital market to e-commerce, physical product stuff. I learned so much from Josh. He was an incredible mentor and partner there, and data was such an important part of like tracking and specifically seeing where we're getting return on ad spend and return on investment. And earlier on, these are the days when we could drive Facebook ads right to a video sales letter. Like that was awesome back in the day when we could do that. That no longer happens anymore. But Golf Fuel was successful. We had a small team. We had some really great affiliates, and we scaled that to a few million with a small team. And then after that, I got into the agency business. That's when Yager Media Group started. That's when I got asked to, hey, you know how to build funnels. Can you build them for me? I was like, all right, sure. I wasn't ready for building another product company. So Yager Media Group was born, and I just started an agency and kind of fell into that.
Well, you jump over all this stuff like it's nonchalant. I'm going to pick your brain. Number one, so like all info products growing up, even with your dad, like it says strategic farming on your LinkedIn, but I'm assuming that's what it was, right? All info products. Yeah. You're not like actually going to farms and or people's houses and helping them grow better.
No, he did. I mean, he consults with like large farms. So he was doing that part, but we were trying to make something like a little bit more automated online. So no, like we didn't do any of that. But it was mainly info products. It was like my start. That was pretty much, besides the computer business, that was definitely physical product stuff. But like real true e-commerce online was Golf Fuel was really getting my teeth wet.
So like, I don't know if it was around that time or not. This is back. It says 2009 to 2013. Is that back when the TV commercials would run? Is that aquaponics or hydroponics, or you have the little beta fish underneath it or whatever? Is that the same sort of thing? Did you guys ever think about moving into a physical product space?
We did. We totally did. And so aquaponics, hydroponics, all of that has been around since the 60s and maybe even earlier. It's been around for a long time. It just got more and more popular as cityscapes were like, hey, how do we grow more and become more sustainable? Sustainable growing, they would call it, in cities. And so hydroponics was the easy way to do it. You have a closet or a room that's dark, and you just have fake lighting, and you don't need soil. You just need water. And so there's different ways of fertilization using fish and other things like that. So there's a bunch of different models and strategies for hydroponics. And then we looked at what was out there at the time. And at that time, it was like really expensive to do the stuff we did. So now that I remember, we actually did do a launch after we built up a list. We partnered with a couple other companies and sold actual more outdoor hydroponic systems. And so I totally blanked on that. Yeah, we did have some physical product stuff that we did for a little while. And the guy that built them just wasn't sustainable. He got out of that business, and we didn't own the supply chain and all that. But all great lessons, right? Like even though that wasn't a massive success, it was successful to a point that taught me lots of lessons there.
Yeah, and I don't know if the ones that go on your countertop ever took off. I remember seeing the commercials. They stood out. There's a farm here where I live called Future Farm, where they make butter lettuce, for the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, through aquaponics or whichever one is the fish one. I don't remember the name. Is it aquaponics?
Aquaponics, yeah.
Yeah. So I heard about that. I thought it'd be cool to have one on my counter, and I mean, not that I watch a ton of TV, but I can't say I've ever seen an ad or a commercial for those anymore either. And didn't Mike Dillard try to get into something like that too?
So Mike did too, which I was really excited about. I forgot what he called it. Something Grow. So Mike actually got investors together, and he designed a beautiful unit, a great prototype. We were so excited about it. And then somebody else had a lot more funding and like really beat him to it. It was similar idea, but like at that point, like they had already launched it and really beat him out. So that was kind of sad. I know how he was so upset about that, but definitely there's some other great products out there, and it's not going away. It's only going to get more and more important to have sustainability, especially with the turmoil that the world's going on. It's imagine being able to grow stuff and have like literally fresh vegetables right there to put in your salads and in your food. It's important. I think it's still something that I'm excited about. And in our new house that we're building, I definitely can see us having some hydroponics in the house.
Well, certainly gardening exploded during COVID, right? I remember not really considering it. Like my consulting clients were going off, right? The gym owners, anything indoor was going crazy. So I wasn't really thinking about gardening, but March came and we tried to order pepper plants and we tried to get jalapeno plants and tomatoes and things like that for our raised beds here at our house. And everybody was sold out. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess that makes a ton of sense. It was very hard for us to find. We ended up only just getting a couple plants, as that's all we could find. So
wow.
I think it's going to grow, right? Like this COVID thing's, newsflash, this COVID thing's not going away. There's not going to be some magical vaccine, or it's going to disappear on November 4th. I don't think that's how it's going to happen. So maybe it's time to jump back. I'm just giving you ideas to jump back into here, I think.
Yeah, you are. You're sparking up new ideas that are pulling the old AJ. So I actually really enjoyed it. It's kind of fun to go down memory lane.
So talk to me through the transition to GolfFuel, because you brought up a big name. BioTrust Nutrition is a massive company. And so how did you meet, forgive me, I forget the name, but how did you meet him? And,
Josh.
How did that, relationship build and turn into GolfFuel? Was he were they doing BioTrust back then?
No, this is before. So this is before them. Before then, Josh and I met at Internet Marketing Party. Shout out to my buddy David Gonzalez, who's been doing the Internet Marketing Party now consistently for like 10 to 11 years. They're usually hosted in Austin, Texas, but there's also every time traffic and conversion, digital marketer put that on, there's always like a big party out there. So DG had an event in Austin. I was kind of new there, but Josh had just moved there. Nate Hopkins and I were sitting. He's like, "Hey, this is Josh Bazzoni. He's going to be a speaker in a couple of weeks." And we just sat there, had some drinks, and just connected. And he's like, "Yeah, I want to get back into the supplement game." Josh at that time had built up a really big company, and just it kind of crumbled on him due to some lessons he had to learn. And he's like, "I want to build something better than ever." And so I've always had this idea for golf. It's like, I'm a marketer. I'd love to help out. I'd love to help with building this company. But I've never done really a physical product company on your level with supplements. I'm here to learn. So we built out GolfFuel. And then shortly after, he partnered with Joel, because golf was only a certain size market, right? High average order value. Like golfers are passionate and they want to win, and they're willing to spend money, and they're high income earners. But at the same time, there wasn't a lot of affiliates. There wasn't a lot of reach, a lot of golfers. There was a limited market. We didn't really know that going in, but we did really great. Then he wanted to get back into the game of selling supplements to a much bigger mass market. And that's where him and Joel Marion strategically built BioTrust, into an amazing company. And I had an opportunity to be there in the beginning. I was like the voiceover. I helped design the logo. I did the VSLs in the beginning. They'd write the copy, and I'd put together the video sales letters and be the voice of it. So I had a lot of fun. I got to see that grow as well and be a part of that team for a little while. So a lot of really great learnings from Joel, Josh, and that whole crew.
There's a podcast called The Passionate Few that Joel Marion was on. And if you guys are searching for something to listen to, go download that. It's pretty incredible. It's very inspiring. A friend of mine, Brian Tweer, sent that over. It was pretty awesome. So talk me through GolfFuel, man. Obviously, you guys it's an energy drink for golfers, right? And as
actually,
you said,
no,
it's not
an energy drink. No. It started as the one product that we did for MVP, like minimal viable product, was a focus pill. So it was about having ginkgo biloba and certain a mental health stack, if you will, like nootropic for golfers specifically. And so we figured, we could go mass market, but let's just focus on this, having high quality ingredients. And Josh knew of formulators and knew how to do all that stuff, because he had spent days with Bill Phillips back in the day. Bill Phillips, of those of you who do not know him, he was a huge name in the industry, and he had EAS. I forgot what it stands for. EAS supplements. Anyway, so Josh knew a ton of this about formulation. So we created one great product that did really well. And then what we learned is like, well, golfers beyond the mental game, one of their biggest problems was pain and joint pain. So we then created urgent joint support out of surveying and understanding what our customers want. That was our second product, and even taking over our first one, it was better because instead of creating joint support like glucosamine, which is a regular joint product, we did even more research and found something called acetyl myristoyl, and it was a active ingredient that really helped not just help with joint pain, but actually lubricate the joints so that, because golfers, like, you're twisting your whole body, your whole spine's twisting. And so whether you're old, whether you're young, this is a lot of wear and tear on the body. And so it's basically like creating WD-40 for the joints and allowing their joints to have that lubrication as you're twisting. So you're stopping that pain and really helping people like recover from it. So then we had that quality product. And from there, like, we had a really nice funnel, right? Like, you can sell either one of them at the front end or as upsells. And, 2 bottles, 3 bottles, 6 bottles. And then we had different upsells into eventually energy drinks, hydration, which is super important. So pouring it into your water bottle, which is like a powder one. And then eventually into protein products and a few other variations of products that golfers were really wanting. So it was cool to see it evolve, but it just started with one primary focus, one MVP, which was, how do we help golfers focus better and drive better and putt better? And from there, we built a cool company.
So you've worked with a lot of companies. Would you say the messaging was easy in that industry? I would say, as a golfer myself, and I play in league on Mondays and Thursdays, anybody who's a golfer will pay you any amount of money to give them one more stroke. If you can lower their score by 1 stroke, they'll pay you whatever, right? They buy the dumbest stuff, and they buy like drivers are $500 nowadays, and they're no better than last year's driver or the year before, but everybody will buy the new driver. Everybody will buy new clubs, right? As soon as my father-in-law's great for this, he'll be like, I think I'm gonna go get new irons this weekend. I'm not hitting the irons so well, and he'll blame it on his clubs, right? And they'll go spend anything just to get their game a little bit better, when truly it probably is all in your head. Was the messaging easy? Was it easy to write sales letters and upsell anything, I suppose, right? Just add this to your card for one more stroke.
There was easy. Then there's easy and within the limits of claims, right? Because supplement, right? So yes, it was easy to write some stuff that would convert really well. But then they were like, what is reality and what is just a absolutely crazy claim? Now, at that time, Facebook and everything, we're starting to cut down, and Google, like, hey, you need to be very careful of your claims, especially with supplements. So there was this edge. And we would get to that edge as much as possible because, like, we had scientific studies. We actually had stuff to back up what we were talking about. And we would do really cool videos and other kind of examples to show, look, when you do these things, you take these kind of things, here's the psychology and the science that goes into your body. Hence, you're going to be a better athlete at this. Supplements are here to help you if you're deficient in things. But we had to be very careful about those claims. So as ad platforms started getting more and more less tolerant of what we were doing, we had to pull back the claims and the headlines and all that and the promises, and just get really, really science backed and have good copy. So it got harder and harder. Luckily, Josh was brilliant at that. He was the main copywriter there. And then we had some other copywriters who were brought in to help us with that. But then we had celebrity sponsors. So we would bring in like mental health coaches. We would bring in and sponsor a few different golfers with Golf Fuel and get them to try it. And like, you really get them to not just pay them to say something, but you're like, hey, do you like our product? You really want to get behind this. And so we had a few of those. So that was really fun to get into kind of endorsements and stuff.
Yeah, and did you tell me, and maybe I'm remembering this from Justin Christensen, who I think was also part of this, the growth of this business. Affiliates were a big deal, right? For this company. Was Revolution Golf? Is that am I?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, Justin Tupper and Christian was, or Justin was a part of that company as well, and they were our number one affiliate after we got to know them. Like, they had a business in training and teaching golf to people. Well, what a perfect right alliance there. Like, okay, well, let's help them with these supplements. And so they ended up really promoting that in a big way. And they were our largest affiliate. We had probably 10 really good affiliates. 5 really good affiliates. We had like maybe 20 total, but I remember like the Healthy Back Institute was another great one for us because you had people, that really wanted to help with urgent joint support, and golfers needed back support. So we had lots of different affiliates, but Justin Tupper and Justin Christensen were both part of that other company at that time. They were affiliates.
Can you talk me through the process? Did you do any of that outreach? Because this is a question I get a lot as a consultant. How do you actually like build that relationship there? Like it'd be easy to say, I can make you money, throw my link in your newsletter, right? Like it's easy to be very one-sided and think about what's in it for me as the company. And when you do outreach, you got to say what's in it for them. So can you talk me through the process of building that relationship with someone like Revolution Golf?
Totally. I love this. I was affiliate manager for not only one of my jobs was affiliate manager for that, helped out with some BioTrust ones with my own clients when I have my agency, like just connecting the right people. And there is a certain formula for being successful at this, especially now that more and more people are online. More and more experts are out there, or people just trying to get started. You got to really know how to trust. So it's a two-way street. You cannot keep going out there and asking and asking and asking and asking and draining everybody. You've got to add value. So my approach was always, and yes, I was part of those relationships and part of reaching out to other potential lists and promoters at the time. There weren't influencers at that time, but they were essentially influencers, people that had reach to specific people that could be a part of our clientele. So I would always outreach. Now, depending on how big they were, there's a lot. If they're larger and they're in demand, you can, at that time, you could set yourself apart by sending them physical mail. They used to call it lumpy mail. Sending them a gift, a present, something unique, not creepy, not weird, but like something that's actually usable to them. But also, we didn't really have LinkedIn was maybe around, but nowhere near what it was now today. So it was like, who do I know who knows X? And so it's always better to get a referral. It's always better to go through somebody to get that introduction. And if you couldn't do that, you got to stand out. So we would send free products to them. We would send, even though that's a little bit of a cost, we knew that, hey, if they become an affiliate, it could, with one click of their button, we can get a huge ROI. So there's different strategies about it, but it really wasn't about, can you do this for me? Can you do this for me? It's, hey, we want to build a long-term relationship. What is it that you want to accomplish? What are your goals? What are you trying to do? And we can reciprocate email sends all day long, but maybe that they're like, look, I'm making plenty of money. I'm doing that. What I want to do is know XYZ, or I want to do this, or I have this side project. And sometimes it wasn't about business. It was about their daughter or their kid getting into school or something. Everybody wants something. So if you just take the time to get to know people truly at a human connection level and without a real agenda, then it's amazing what you can get accomplished with people. And so that was always my approach. It was a very humanistic, authentic approach to connecting with somebody, and then looking at how do we create a win-win here for both of our companies. And then you generally would become like, all right, let's start with one thing. If they had 1 million people on their email list, it's always great to go say, oh yeah, I want to hit all these 1 million people. But a small ask would be, look, I want to start a small win together. Why don't we just take like 25,000 of your list and just do a trial? Let's see how this works. If we prove the results, look at the data together, then we can move on from there. And so that was a part of the building the relationship and asking for that first action. But then you also had the data to back it up. So we started with cold media. So we went the hard way. Back then we were starting with the cold media. And so based on our data, we created an affiliate report, which was basically, here's your EPC, your earnings per click. You can drive how many clicks per month? Okay, great. Well, our EPC is like $1.56 or $2.30 or whatever it was for each specific funnel. We knew, hey, if you push this many clicks, this is on average what we're able to do. And so if our cold media is up here and you guys are warm, then we could do even, or if our cold media was down here for like, let's say, I don't know, low percentage, you should maybe double and get double that as an affiliate. And the more affiliates we had do small tests and we get that more data, then we're like, look, we've sent this much traffic. This is our true average EPC. And this is our demographic. This is who we're looking for. It's a great match to yours. Let's do business. So it was a humanistic, authentic approach combined with data.
Mm-hmm. What were you able to offer them in return? Were you marketing their services on your back end? Sometimes. Yeah. If we were limited in what we were willing to do. So it had to be the right affiliate to be able to reciprocate. And mostly we started in the golf industry. And so some were good marketers, most were not. So we're like, if they didn't have a great product or a great offer and they didn't have any data to back up, it's like, well, yeah, we can definitely send for you.
but you need to do these things to be able to send our list. So we kind of create that minimum. And if not, it was like, look, if we could mention them or they were, we could interview them and create content with them. That was another way to reach out for those who were not great marketers. But really it just depended on, it was usually a reciprocate sale, right? An affiliate relationship, or we could do like a webinar together and like we would package things together. So it's like, let's take our supplement mixed with your training program and let's create a unique bundle that's win-win for both of us. And because it's all electronic, it's all trackable, we just write a check at the end. So one of us would have to say, usually it was us, we'd like, look, we'll collect the money, but we'll be transparent in everything that happens and we'll write you the check.
So you would create a bundle of both products, run it to both lists. That's smart.
Yeah, and cold media and get those together to see if that would work. So really it's like, it's kind of fun to create different things. Not all of them are scalable, but when you have the right partners, it's amazing. And you set it up for success from the beginning with transparent recording and like how this looks if we fail, how this looks if we succeed. Then you start small, get some wins, then you build up from there. And then the question was, hey, instead of just doing these one-off launches, how do we integrate it into all your products? How do we integrate, into all your marketing? Hey, why don't we take these best converting emails and add them into every single client you sign up? Or after you sell your product on your thank you page, why don't you upsell Golf Fuel? So we do integration marketing into their already existing funnels instead of like just focusing on big launches.
So that's really cool. Like I kind of want to pick your brain right now. Like I go for walks every night. I just enjoy walking and I'll walk by people's yards and they have invisible fence here, right? From X company or Y company. And there's a bunch of them around my neighborhood. And immediately my brain goes, how do I reach out to these companies? Who clearly all they're talking to is dog owners, right? And I would say 50% of dog owners, if not more, give them the supplements that I sell, right? Omega-3, salmon oil, glucosamine, things like that. I kind of want to pick your brain and say, how do I build this? How do I reach out and just be like, hi, I'm Ben. I own this company, and I think it'd be great to get to know, like the beginning thing, the initial awkwardness. I don't know how to get through that.
I love that. That's my area that I love to be in. That's why Megan is always like, you are the growth officer, but you're the front guy. Like just go be that. And the more you're there, the better our business gets. And frankly, in high school or when we were in college and like picking up on chicks, like that is the awkward moment. That is the part, like most guys are like, no, I don't want to go talk to her. I'm like, oh, I'll go in. I'll just go talk. Whether they say no or not. I was kind of like, it depended on the hotness of the chick or what I was feeling that night. But like usually like I'll just go in and we'll see what happens. So I think that was one of my superpowers. But to really answer that question, kind of a quick session there would be, right, what kind of value do you have to offer something? I always ask, how can I connect with this person and leave them better than before I met them? And that was always what my grandfather taught me. He's like, leave people better when you meet them than when you met them the first time. And so, okay, I will go on LinkedIn and I'll go look at those people because I spend most of my time on LinkedIn these days. And I'll look at who do I know who knows that person? Are they close enough to me to ask a favor to do the introduction? What's also been working really well is because, I've got a podcast that I'm launching here. I've been working it kind of behind the scenes and getting ready to launch. And you've been great helping push me to get it past the finish line. But it's like, look, if I'm genuinely interested in this person, I think they have value to add to the show, I will reach out and say, look, I love what and I literally have a script I can send you that works really well with me. And it's usually when you say connect to the first person for the first time, you have those limited characters, right? So whether this is emails can be longer, but you don't want to have too long, but I'm just using LinkedIn as an example. I will say, look, I love what you're doing at XYZ pet company. I have pets. I love pets. I think, and you're also an entrepreneur. I've got my the BK show. I'd love to have you on, honestly, like to talk about your story, to share your story with your story of success with other people. Look, we actually know like 30 of the same people, but hey, by the way, how do you know Joe Blow? ? And send, and I've got almost 100% response rate of people saying, "Hey, AJ, great to meet you. Yeah, I'd love to be on your podcast." Or whatever. Or they're answering, "Oh yeah, so Joe Blow is my good friend from college." Whatever. I'm like, "Oh, pick up the conversation." Again, natural. It takes a little bit more time, but I utilize that as a strategy of like, who do you know who knows that you can introduce, and how do you add value to them and really like use something different than just like people on LinkedIn vomiting their sales pitch stuff like right away. It just does not work. It's horrible. So create a human connection.
Yeah, the online side is where I get confused, right? So in person, masterminds are great for this. You just get a chance to talk to somebody, and it's natural. The online confuses me, right? So the advice I got, this was talking like SEO, like reaching out for links. Again, you're coming very one-sided. I want a backlink from this source. And the advice I got was, hey, just reach out to them. Tell them you like one of the articles, because you probably should like one of their articles if you're reaching out to them. And then this guy's advice was find a donut shop in their town and act like you've been there. And just be like, I love... whatever. I don't even know a name of a good donut, right? But imagine I love this kind of donut, and your shop in town is one of my favorites when I visited there. Have you ever been to this donut shop? And that's it. And just immediately let the conversation flow from there. So I love that you're like Joe Blow. I prefer Joe Bag of Donuts personally. But how do you know Joe Bag of Donuts, right? It still feels weird to me. Like just even talking to you about this, like then what, right? Like it feels almost like you're calling that girl in third grade to ask her to be your girlfriend, right? The whole thing feels so slimy and like scary to me that I don't know. You're just smiling like this sounds so easy to you.
I think we need to revert like it's a different way of looking at it. That anxiety, that energy you have comes through, whether it's digital or it's in person. People will feel that. Sure. So if you're feeling that, they're going to feel that, and it's going to come across slimy in that way. And you're not a slimy guy. You are a very sweet, concerned, and caring person who is down to earth, and you need to be getting yourself in that mindset first. And again, you're simply the format of the conversation is digital. That's it. It just means you're not in front of the person yet. But you can make up or find the donut shop or whatever. But I always I just take a little bit. How can I get to know this person? Definitely look at their articles, look where they've been, look at where they are. And I've traveled a lot, so I'm like, oh my God, I love Cincinnati. The one time I went to Cincinnati, I remember that place, or here's my memory, and sharing with that. All you got to do is find those little pieces of relatable, in NLP, it's called finding, it's a word that's evading me right now, but it's basically like getting something that you can, build rapport. It starts small. It's not slimy at all. It's just a process of getting to know somebody. When there's so much noise, people will appreciate you that you took extra 10, 20, 30 seconds, or maybe even 5 or 10 minutes to learn about them, to ask a viable question and start that conversation, as opposed to the people that copy paste. It's like, no, I can reach out to 5 or 10 people a day. Let's just say 5 people a day, 5 days a week. And I'm getting an almost 100% response rate. And whether these people become clients or not, it doesn't matter to me. But I've already met awesome people from my podcast, awesome new potential partners, and people I'm literally like excited to meet in person finally, because they're just cool ass human beings. By reaching out to 5 people a day. That's it. On LinkedIn or other mediums. Because right now I'm used to going to masterminds. I can't, my ass is at home because I can't go anywhere. So I think that we can end the discussion on that, but it's like really being authentic in your approach to connecting with people, and then just looking at asking your group, hey, who do you know? Posting on Facebook or something. Hey, I'm trying to reach out to these kind of companies. Does anybody know these kind of companies that you can introduce me to? Like, I find that the network I've built has been my best asset, no matter what business I'm in.
Well, I 100% am picking your brain on this again in the future. Sorry to drift away from the story, but back to Golf Fuel. You guys exited, right? Yeah. Are you able to talk about that at all? I think Revolution Golf bought you, right?
Revolution Golf bought it because they're like they said basically as an affiliate, we get this percentage, or we can just buy it and just integrate this in everything we're doing. And so that's what they did. They bought the company, integrated all of our products, funnels, and all that into, I can't remember if it was into their membership or they kept it as a separate like a line item and company. And then Kyle and I, our other partner who came in later on, worked with Revolution Golf to like integrate it into their back end. And they had like a lot of customers on Revolution Golf, very successful company. But then they ended up getting bought by, I think it was NBC Golf. Yeah, I can't remember. Congrats to Justin. He's an awesome entrepreneur, and they were really trying to keep their brand clean to get that purchase. And it was all about their content and their delivery. So not so much the supplement game, but it was acquired by them. And that's the cool thing about affiliates is like, hey, if you get a good enough affiliate relationship, that could become a merger or acquisition for you. And that's what it did for us. So that's when I had moved on to, I worked with them for a little bit longer after that, and I went on to start my own agency.
Right. I'm sure that put a few bucks in your pocket, right? And also got you into e-commerce, got you into building funnels, got you into building real products. So I believe you said that brought you into Yager Media Group is what you call it, right? So are you just doing this, like after that, are you just doing consulting for people? You said you worked with Mike Dillard. Is that you just build friends and help them build funnels, or what is Yager Media Group? Like, what did you do? It looks like you were there for, quite a long time. So
yeah, it's still kind of the parent company to everything that Megan and I are doing right now. But yeah, basically people started asking me almost immediately, hey, can you build a funnel like you did for Golf Field? I'm like, yeah, I can do that. I didn't have an agency yet. I was just like, yeah, started doing them. I'm like, man, this is a lot of work. And I still have my designer that worked with me in Golf Fuel. Like, he had worked with me for years in India. He's a designer and developer, great guy named Raj. Like, okay, I'm going to pull him over. And then I'm like, well, I need more help. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm starting an agency now. So I formed Yager Media Group, said, all right, I'm officially going to be doing this. I said, I'm going to charge $5,000 a month. And this is what you're going to get. And it usually takes about 30 to 90 days to build a good quality funnel, copywriter, pull all this stuff in. And so I was like, well, then I had a Yager Media Group. And so I was only able to take a certain amount of clients as we grew. At one time we had 12 employees and like 27 clients. So it's successful, but I was like, I was stuck running the business and being the entrepreneur and being the marketer. And I was like, ooh, this was pretty taxing. Agency work is not easy. And then kind of slowly but surely that Megan came into my life, and then we're like, look, we want to build something where I'm not like, because we was already traveling, and I would be on calls in Europe for my United States clients till 10, 11, 12 at night. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I'm liking it, but I'm like, we're making money, but this is not what I want. We want to build a company that has people smarter than us running it so that we can have a better lifestyle, but like build something bigger. So that's when Megan and it changed my life.
Were you a digital nomad back then, or like during Golf Fuel, or after that, or? After
that, I always loved traveling, but in the very beginning, Megan and I were both very clear. We were adventure partners. Like, we are here we want to travel. We want to be out. And I'd already had a remote. I'd always been remote. I've been remote for years. Like, I didn't want an office. Actually, the magazine had an actual physical office, but I've been remote for a long time. So this is normal for me. And being a digital nomad was important. So once Megan and I started dating, like, we were already traveling, like, a lot.
Where'd you go?
That specific memory I'm thinking about was when we got paid to come out to speak at a digital marketing conference for German business owners, German coaches, and got paid like 10 grand or something to come out there to speak for this. And then we were in Mallorca, Spain. And then that was a 60-day trip. So we jumped all over Europe again. And we basically do 30 to 90 day trips at a time. That's kind of our thing, is like, we'd rather be out there longer. And because we're remote, we can do whatever we want from wherever we are, as long as we have internet. So that became very important to us, that living that kind of lifestyle was important.
I was just curious where you went. I mean, the whole high ticket dropshipping world where I kind of came from, everyone's live in Chiang Mai or go down to the islands, very much a Southeast Asia type of thing. So it seems rare, at least to me, that you hear a lot of, Europe travel, which sounds pretty cool. Actually, you and I were supposed to be on a yacht this summer as well in Europe. I was very much looking forward to that. Damn you, COVID. Hopefully that comes back again, because that trip sounded amazing.
So excited about that one. Is that going to be next year or the year after? I think, who knows? But I'm really excited about that one. You just reminded me of that. Sad. But we'll get there. But yeah, that one was Mallorca, because apparently a lot of Germans go to Mallorca. So it just made sense for the people who hosted it.
That's amazing. So do you want to toot your own horn a little bit? I would imagine like Mike Dillard's a big name, right? And so if you're helping Mike Dillard with funnels, I would imagine, again, you have a laundry list of connections on every platform I know you on, even in person. You're like, yeah, I know this guy. Like, I don't know how you make all these connections. So feel free to toot your own horn of like people you've worked with, or tell me some of the cool funnels you help build. Oh man. I mean, Mike Dillard has been a mentor and a friend for many years. I think we're going over 12 years now. Yeah, I think we're going over 12 years. He was an early mentor of mine, because like many listeners probably heard Mike back in the day when he was like magnetic sponsoring, and he was doing his early what's it called, network marketing stuff. And I wasn't in network marketing, but he had kind of been transitioning into like info product stuff. So I met Mike, we hung out in Austin, and we've been friends ever since. And like, basically when living in Austin,
if we weren't working, Megan and I were like on the boat wake surfing with Mike, and so we've had a really great relationship. But early on, I think we were at my Christmas party, and he was like, "Hey, I need a funnel to do so and so." I was like, "Oh, well, we're building funnels," and so we decided we got to build a funnel or two with Mike and one of his launches for, I think it was his List Grow launch, and so it was wonderful to work with Mike and have a great big list. And he was like kind of a dream client because it was like, wow, he's got all of these things that most people don't have. And so it was like, well, great. We're just going to focus on this box for him because he's got all the people. He just needs a great funnel team to build it out. So we did that with him, and then worked with Jamie Wheel, who is a great author, amazing speaker about flow state. He wrote something fire, Catching Fire. And he was really brilliant to work with, like helping entrepreneurs and people get into high performance. We worked with doctors' offices. We worked with Christine Hassler is one of my dear, dear friends. I absolutely love her to get death. She's like one of the best coaches on the planet. Her and her husband, we were at their wedding in Mallorca. So I get to work on her funnel, helping her go from no products digitally to like becoming a digital product and a course. Her launch we did a really great job with her launch, and I was really happy with that. So I've got that was like clients of Yager Media Group, but I honestly feel like I've been really blessed to have met with, be taught by, and be in masterminds with like really incredible entrepreneurs and marketers. Living in Austin, honestly, was a blessing. Like I lived in Austin for like 11 years. And Internet Marketing Party was a huge connector. Going to traffic and conversion, knowing Ryan Dice and Perry Belcher early on as digital marketer grew, Molly Pittman, Nate Hopkins. Just there's so many people in that environment. I was just there since the beginning. Like I literally attended traffic and conversion for like 10 years straight. I remember when it was 100 people in a room. Now it's like 6,000 people in a huge production. And so I was just there. I mean, part of it is just showing up, and part of it is knowing that whether you belong there or not, just showing up and being there and connecting with the people and being authentic. And I love people. So for me, my Rolodex, and for me, adding value and doing things for people is a natural. And I think that's been really helpful for me. So I think my reputation preceded me, and people liked me, and I added value everywhere I could. And so that's why I have, I think, a good reputation with people.
So you mentioned masterminds. I'm a big fan. I've only been in a couple, both paid, and I'm glad I've been there. What other ones can you speak of that you were a part of? Were you part of War Room, which is digital marketers back end?
I was at a time, yeah, to help meet some really awesome people and level up there. Like War Room is awesome. Baby Bathwater is great. I know Michael Lovitch and Hollis for, again, like around 10 years. They've built a great mastermind with Baby Bathwater. And for a while, I went basically for a whole year and a half. I was like, mastermind. If you go to too many, you don't have time to execute. So I was like, all right, I need to kind of take it back. And this also gets very expensive. But Elliot's has been incredible for us. Now it's like more like I want to be a part of less of them that are high quality and around people I want to be with. Whether most of them, they just bring business. I don't go in with like an agenda. It's more of like, I'm here to meet cool people and contribute. And if I get business out of it, great. And usually because we're in a high ticket business, it only takes one or two great connections to like ROI those. And no matter what, I'm getting growth as a person and as an entrepreneur. And so it's like, it's worth it there. There's definitely some out there that I won't mention that I don't think are worth it, but it's like, you got to be careful of the execution and the amount of money you're going to spend on masterminds. But it's like been absolutely crucial to go to as many as I could early on to connect with these people. I wouldn't be where I am if I hadn't attended Internet Marketing Party, Traffic and Conversion, and many of the masterminds that we mentioned. And some that were masterminds that are not like ongoing masterminds, but they were events that I went through that changed my life. And I met some incredible people that are still business partners or friends now.
Yeah, I spent a lot of money on events and masterminds. And the previous company I was in threw me in a mastermind. All of them have paid for themselves easily. Yep. There might be one or two that stand out of like, maybe I wish I wouldn't have gone to this. But even one was like traffic conversion was just okay the first time I went. But I went there with somebody I only kind of knew. We met up the first night. His name's Brian. He's now my business partner. He's now my best friend. And so like something comes out of all of this. I don't know. I think a lot of people are afraid to spend that money. I mean, if you, like you said, go there and be authentic and just show up, you're going to meet people who end up changing your lives or building relationships that alter your trajectory.
Yep. And there is something to be said about like pay to play. Like it's really difficult. Like you can work really hard when you're young. You can play the young card, and like you can maybe get involved in some of these. Like if you don't have the money, you can like email the people, talk to them. Like, look, I'll work it. I want to be there. Like just do whatever you can to get in around that group, because the people that can afford to spend that money are people you need to be around that are going to change your life. And all it takes is one relationship. Like I truly believe no one succeeds alone. There's no such thing as a self-made entrepreneur. I don't like that term. I think it's stupid. Literally nobody has built success without other people helping them in some capacity, whether they're paid or not. So self-made millionaire, self-made entrepreneur doesn't really jive with me. It's all about people. I believe our people are your number one asset. So the more you can be around those people that are thinking differently and thinking at that higher level, you're going to automatically up-level yourself by just literally being there and being able to listen and absorb their energy, and things just change. It could be one person away. Like if you're stuck in your business and you've tried lots of different things, that's when you're like one person or one hire away from like leveling up your business. I truly believe that.
Well, look, I want to transition back to where you're at. So you worked with all these great people. You went to a lot of masterminds. Obviously, we're both big fans of this, like getting out there and doing things. And that somehow transitioned into what you're doing now, which is Praxis. And I think you mostly work with e-commerce businesses. I want to pick your brain on some data points for e-commerce as well. But like, how did you make the transition into, you said you and Megan wanted to travel. You wanted to bring in people smarter than you. But how did you actually determine, hey, I think we can build a company that is data driven and find data points for e-commerce businesses that's going to help them grow? Like, how did you make that transition into Praxis and you know, toot your own horn again? Praxis is amazing. I want to hear all about it.
Thank you. Yeah. And we do focus on e-commerce companies. We've worked with lots of other ones, but like right now, e-commerce is blowing up so much, and it's our core, like we're really good at it. And we have team members that are really good at it. So e-commerce is the course target audience, but I'll rewind a little bit. And like, as we were transitioning from the marketing agency into data, we were data driven in what we did. And so one of our team members, Anton, great marketer himself, was reduced down to report building every week, like spreadsheets, manually pulling stuff, putting it into the spreadsheet. And it's like, this was not the best use of his time. He knew all the different technologies, he understood it, but he spent less time analyzing the data and telling people what to go do with it. He was spending most of his time pulling it all. So we're like, all right, we got to invest in business intelligence here. There's definitely a better way to do this. And so we decided to take some of our profits and like invest in data people who understood tracking and analytics and BI and SQL, which is SQL, and figure out this whole, how do we automate our data and reporting for our clients? So we started to solve our own problem internally as an agency. And as we started doing that for clients, they're like, what? This is awesome. I've never seen my business like so organized. Most people do not know how to answer basic business questions or about their numbers in their business. They go by gut. They're creatives that have created something great, but like, then they're like, I don't know how to grow it and scale it from here. Those who do, you see grow and scale. That's why it's such a fine line. There's so many few businesses that succeed and the others are just foundering.
To be fair, usually the point where they need someone like you, they're doing fucking everything, right? And so there is fires to put out left and right. You can't wake up one day and be like, today I'm going to get this done because, Joe Bag of Donuts has an issue with their order. Like they're still handling every area of the business, and there's just too much to think about to even do this stuff. But this stuff is so important. Like just, I'm sure we're going to dive into a few of the data points, but just finding one of those can be a massive lever in your business.
So
it's finding that time, right?
Finding the time, and also like, I get it. Like not everybody was successful in math class, right? Not everybody's good with numbers. It's just literally, I will never be as good as Megan is at data. I'm just not. I'm not a data scientist. I'm not a data guy. I am a truth seeker of solutions, a truth seeker of results. I want to know how to get to my endpoint faster. And I know that data people are important. So we started hiring those people. And even though I'm not a data person, I know how important it is. And I know that we need to go about it in a certain way that like there's certain metrics that will teach you how, that happened. Well, this is the lever to pull over here to make this go up, right? So it's becoming data driven, but you don't have to be a data like nerd. You don't even have to be great at spreadsheets. So to finish the story, like we automated our reporting, started reporting that to our clients, and they're like, this is my marketing data, but can you do this same like dashboard for my finances, for my inventory, for all these other things? We're like, me being the entrepreneur said yes. I'm like, now I got to figure out how to do that. But we built a data division within Yager Media Group. So then we started running two businesses. It was marketing and then doing our own reporting. But then now we're like taking on like data audits and building dashboards. So as Megan and I started seeing like what was our main goal here, what we're trying to achieve in our life and our business, what was our lifestyle blueprint? Well, Praxis became more of that business that we could build and grow. And so as we started, Megan actually came up with the idea of Praxis, which is an Aristotelian term. Aristotle had 3 different views of humanity, and Praxis is one that is the application, the practical application of knowledge, the doing, not theory, not just talking theory, but like actually taking the information and doing something with it. So we figured that would be a great name. So we incorporated it, became partners, and we said, we're going to double down on this, and we're going to become world-class at helping companies grow and scale from data consulting, building dashboards, and helping them take action from those insights. So Praxis was born. We built it on our own dime as our own profits. We've never taken on money. So we're really proud of that. It was not easy. We've definitely had our ups and downs. And now we're at 33 team members. Data people are not inexpensive. To get good data scientists and dashboard engineers, it's expensive. But we've partnered with other companies who already have business intelligence platforms, Domo, Grow, Sisense, a bunch of other companies that if a company comes to us and they're working on a different platform, we have to have people that will work on them. But we work with Domo a lot, and that's one of our preferred tools as far as tools go. Then we've got Google Analytics experts. We've got several different variations of data people on our team to be able to become a data a team, like an extension of a business's team. So an e-commerce company is great at product, but they have no data team person. They have no idea how to hire somebody. They can bring us on, bolt us onto their company, and we've already pre-built out the most important metrics that companies need to see. I'm going to go through some of the desert island metrics. One is revenue. Obviously, you got to have your revenue, and revenue is probably the easiest one that Shopify and all the different technologies bring in, which is tracking. Then we've got lifetime customer value. You need to know your true lifetime customer value beyond 30 days. And we can do a whole nother, there's a bunch of trainings and other videos I have on that stuff we can put in the show notes if you want, but I want to go high level. You've got lifetime value, you got customer acquisition cost. You need to know how much you can afford to spend on a customer so that you can continue doing that. And the person that wins is going to be the person that is able to spend more money to acquire a customer. Look at Amazon. Amazon for years was not profitable at all. In fact, I don't even know if they are profitable yet, but they were just willing to spend to acquire as many customers as they can. And they are winning. He's one of the biggest billionaires in the world, right? One of the richest people there are. And then we've got ROAS, return on ad spend, and return on investment. You've got to know what your actual return on ad spend is if you're on the cold media side, and what your real true ROI is in your business. And what helps with that is COGS, cost of goods sold. You need, like, too many entrepreneurs or e-commerce companies look at other ideas or models like trial drops, like trial free shipping, trying these things like, oh, I got to go do this because that's what's working for these other companies. Well, if you don't know your true cost of goods sold, your true expenses to deliver that end result, you're going to just drive yourself out of business. We've seen companies that are saying, yeah, we're successful. They're seeing top of funnel, great return on ad spend and great return on, or not investment, but return on ad spend, but they don't know their COGS. And they're like, why is the bank account like negative? Because they don't know their COGS. So those are the 5 desert island metrics. Though they are basic, those are the most important to have. And then, of course, there's tons of metrics that go deeper from there. So hopefully that helps explain a few.
So those are great. When I consult with people, they end up almost getting frustrated because I want to work on basics. And so it's funny that you bring up these 5 basic things. Every business I go into, their foundation is just shaky, right? And so I usually work with people on AdWords or SEO or things like that. And so we end up breaking it way back down and like, let's get your code cleaned up. Let's get your headings correct on your pages, right? Let's get schema markup built in there. Let's really break down everything you have at a core level and build the foundation. What are the foundational things you walk in? Do you have a bunch of like custom reports and analytics that you immediately import? Like what is the, and some of these might just be head scratchers. Like what do you walk in there and connect analytics to some businesses? Like how foundational do you get when you walk into some businesses? And I would assume at some points it probably makes some people feel dumb.
Well, that's a really great question. I have to approach this in a couple of different segments because there's what we call like a data maturity spectrum. Right. So
can you hear that? My cat is puking behind me. This is going to be amazing audio.
Oh, I have not.
That's great. All right, carry on. Sorry. Yeah.
No, poor cat. I hope it's okay. No, there's a data maturity spectrum. So we have clients that come in at multiple different stages. And one of the most foundational is data collection. The biggest thing, we've had companies doing $60 million a year come to us and say, all right, we need to do this and that. Here's the reporting we need. And we're like, all right, once we do an audit, we're like, we need to go back to step one with you because you want a bunch of these metrics and you want these dashboards to look like this, but your tracking is trash. You guys are a mess. If you're not, it's bad data in, bad data out. If your input is dirty data, you're going to get bad output. That's very simple. So the foundational thing that we need to make sure, you mentioned code on the site. Well, that's like Google Analytics being set up is not Google Analytics being done. There are advanced e-com tracking. There's triggers. There's goals. There's all of these different things that people need to do to have appropriate attribution and to have Google Analytics, which is an amazing tool for free, set up the right way. Most people think it doesn't work that well or they set it and forget it. Well, that is one foundation. That's just one tracking tool I'm talking about. But like you've got to make sure that you're using UTMs, which is Urchin Tracking Mechanism, a free UTM link on every single marketing activity that you are doing. It is tedious. It is simple, but most people don't do it. It is like 90% of most brands don't do this. And it's the one mistake that is like horrible to skip over. So tracking is the big one. Because if we have good data there, whether you're using the dashboards or you have dashboards or not now, at least you have the data historically and we can learn from that. So foundationally is tracking. Then we get into UTMs and then we get into like business questions. What specifically are the business questions you're trying to answer or want to answer but can't that will help you achieve your goals? So first you got to be clear where you're going, whether that's 90-day goals or whatever, but then based on those goals, what are the business questions that are going to help you answer get to that place? So we go through a whole process called metrics mapping, or we have a data roadmap intensive where we will literally walk people through how to build a foundation of success in data and what questions to ask when and what's the mindset and literally all the things that you need to collect from all the different tools out there to then be more data driven in your business. And so it's a whole framework that we go through to help make sure people are ready for this before we go build anything.
Well, I think what I like about what you do is it's overlooked. Like everyone that I work with has a wonderful business. And through the lens I have, I'm able to walk in and say, all right, these levers are easy to pull. Let's pull these, right? Mm-hmm. And you take a business that's already working and see what you should pull. So a good example is like, there's a million podcasts, DTC, e-commerce, Twitter's phenomenal. But all of these things tell you the next hack and the next hack and the next thing you should do. And so when I get on a call with some consulting clients and some current ones that might be listening are probably laughing right now. They're always like, should I try this? Should I try that? Should we do this? And usually no one takes the time to just sit back and say, what's already working? And how can I measure that a little bit better so that I can just pull that lever and make that work even better for me. And so I really like the way that you just say, hey, let's get clean data in here and let's look at it. And usually something that's already working can work a whole lot better. And it's so much easier to improve what's already working than go out and try the next hack and the next thing. And how do I get the next sale? And how do I get the next sale? And so, yeah, man, I love what you
hit it. You hit the nail on the head, man. When people ask us, and we went through this with our branding agency, like the brand builders group took us through this thing. We're like, well, what are you really solving? What do you really do? Like, what business are you in? We kept it like optimize and this and data and all that. We're like, finally came out of it is like, we're in the waste business. We're in the waste business. Okay, what does that mean? We are passionate about and helping companies empower them by reducing waste. So like what's working, what's not working. If we remove the wasted time, energy, and money, all those resources that companies are just dumping down, right? Flushing down the toilet, by removing these pieces of waste, whether it's ad spend or whether it's, not knowing your COGS or whatever it may be, if we reduce that automatically optimizes your company. So the ability to, everybody's heard of Pareto's principle, 80-20 rule. If you are able to, with data, identify the levers, the 20% activities, the things that are really working, take that 80% that's not working, and even take a fraction of that and apply it to that 20% and double, triple, quadruple down on that, you can 10x your business in a very short amount of time. I'm not promising days, maybe weeks, but maybe in a month, maybe in 30 days, if you actually figure out through data what you're wasting, where it's leaking, the leaky bucket, I call it, because you can optimize all you want to, but if you have holes in the bucket, you're not going to be able to do that fast enough. The water's going to come in, it's going to be coming out the back end. So plug the holes with data by understanding what that is and remove the things are not working. And then keep saying, what's working now? Well, what's working now? And like you're saying, that's that faster hockey stick growth when companies are able to do that.
But my friend George said, most e-commerce businesses have a 2% conversion rate. That means 98 people are raising their hand and saying, I'm interested, and then leaving, right? And so I focus on that a lot. I work with a lot of the high-ticket dropshipping community whose conversion rate is like 0.3, right? And they're profitable. Yep. And they're like, how do I go from 0.3 to 2? And I'm like, that's exactly what we need to be answering right there. That over 99.5 people are leaving that were interested in your product. And so I love that you're saying plug some leaky buckets. Look, I'm happy to move on. You said you're about to launch a new podcast. Let's talk about it. Like, what are you, obviously you've mentioned the words data driven about 90 times on this show. That is you, that represents you. This is why I wanted you on here. This is what you live and breathe. This is what Megan lives and breathes. Tell me what you're going to do with this podcast that I'm going to guess is called Data Driven.
It's called The Data Rich Show.
Oh, close enough.
How to be data rich in your life and your business. So you were close. And it's really a business conversation. It's a conversation around data for business people, for people who failed math class, who aren't data driven naturally, who don't even understand the numbers, or maybe their eyes glaze over when they're in a spreadsheet, like me after about 12 minutes. I'm getting better. But it's about having conversations around data that people can understand and derive action and insight from. So we're having interviews. So I do interviews of successful e-commerce companies or other business owners who have created growth in their business. But I dissect it and they break it down into numbers and like how those things were achieved. And so we're able to jump into those numbers and see what maybe it's conversion rates, maybe it's COGS, maybe it's other growth mechanisms, but like really focusing on the data in a fun way. And we're also going to do panels. So I have really wicked smart people on my team and connections to really smart data people, of which, because I'm the kind of in-between buffer, the host, I'm able to extract this stuff in their head and communicate it in English so that the business owners can understand it and how that's usable. So we're going to do panels with multiple perspectives on things like data ownership, data privacy, conversion rates, lifetime value, like deep dives into these topics that are like super important, but getting these different perspectives from people and data. And then we're going to do metrics that matter. So, 5, maybe 10-minute deep dive on specific metrics that e-commerce companies and other businesses need to understand. And so it's like going to be a video, and it'll be on a podcast as well, but like it's going to be a YouTube show as well. We're like literally just going to be over our shoulder looking at this information and how to go take action from these, getting very specific so that anybody looking on the team can watch these videos and watch these, listen to these podcasts and like start to understand like what they need to be doing in the business to reduce the waste and increase their optimization. And that's really what Data Rich Show is about. It's going to be a fun, sexy look at data that I think everybody will be able to relate to.
I think as recording this, you're not quite out yet. I know you have a bunch recorded. I'll put a link in the show notes to that podcast because I'm excited to hear it too, right? Like, honestly, I want to hear the things that I'm not thinking about. And so the fact that you're targeting e-commerce, I think there's quite a few people listening to this that should be listeners of your new show. Yeah,
thank you. I'm excited to launch it. And we'll definitely have it in the show notes.
So I know what you're trying to do with Praxis, but like what's next, right? Like you're launching this podcast, you're trying to grow Praxis. I think you just put out a webinar, which I should definitely put in the show notes as well. What's next, man? Where are you going next?
Well, what we've learned is we can build custom stuff all day long, and that's a long, tedious, and expensive process. What we're really interested in is productizing what we do, and we've built what we're calling accelerated insights dashboards, where we've said, look, we've done the thinking for you. If you're this kind of a business and you have this technology stack, meaning maybe Shopify or BigCommerce or Magento and Google Analytics, if you have these connectors and these softwares, we've already literally built what you need to be taking action on. So here you go. Within literally a week or 2 weeks, we can have up really incredible insights that are usable, not vanity metrics, but like, these are what you need to look at. Give it access to your team. And then now it's getting into data education and data literacy. It's like teaching people how to use this, teaching people how to extract the insights and going and taking action on those. So we're really creating more of a movement of like, well, here's the data, but now here's what you need to go do with it. So we're putting out, like I mentioned, a data roadmap intensive, where when in a group setting and or one-on-one, our data team walks you through kind of a several week process and help you align and get the foundation set up. Get everybody on your team like bought into this concept that you need to invest in data because it's not going to go away. It's going to blow harder. We need to understand that the number one competitive advantage you have is your data. And if you're not using it, your competitors are. And you're gonna bomb if they have more information. Data is simply information. We need to get that through people's head. And there's certain needle movers, like we talked about, that if you focus on these, you're going to go leap and bound past your competitors. Now there's more competitors than ever popping up. So I think it's more and more important to become data driven and have this conversation. So it's getting the word out, productizing what we do, and building up our data education series and programs so that we can reach a lot more people.
So you're trying to like come out with something SaaS-like? Like say, I'm in e-commerce, I'm on Shopify, obviously I have Google Analytics. Is that something you're going to, create a Shopify app or something that plugs in, or a SaaS product we can buy outside of that?
Yeah, but basically we're already doing this, but our new version 2 is actually launching here very soon, where within 1 to 2 weeks, depending on how much data they have and all that, we're literally like a light up, like almost SaaS-like, where they're going to get access to all of this information. And like a SaaS, they just pay a monthly fee for it. And it's already done for them. Then they just focus on those, not about creating a bunch of other stuff. It's like the basics, like we talked about, like start here, start at taking action on these. And then we're having the training and actually a data consultant that can work with a company, join your meetings, your weekly or monthly meetings, and have like a data consultant on looking at the dashboards with them, helping them pull insights from them. So it's kind of data as a service. It's SaaS mixed with consulting and services is what we've been doing. We want to do less custom work and more like, let's reach 1,000 customers and help them get the data faster. And instead of kind of doing, 100 customers a year kind of a thing, we want to reach more people through a product-based and educational kind of approach.
Well, I've been writing down ideas over here that I'm going to give to you after the show. So
Awesome.
I've got a few ideas for you, but look, I appreciate having you on. What's the best place to reach out to you if somebody who's listening to this and they want to reach out to you guys?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn all the time. So you can search me on LinkedIn, AJ Yager, and then go to praxismetrics.com and you can get a free data strategy session, which is not usually Megan and I, but we have a lot of cool, you mentioned a webinar. We just did a webinar with Mike Dillard and his group. We have a lot of cool trainings coming out, but if you go on praxismetrics.com and jump on a call, or go to praxismetrics.com/10x, like the number 10x, we have a free report. It's an ebook called How to 10X Your Business with Data, and it's awesome. And I think that's a really great starting point for people to kind of get a base. And really, that's it. And Praxis Metrics is PRAXIS, metrics, metrics.com/10x is the ebook. And then AJ Yager at LinkedIn. I think those are the best places.
Nice. If you're an e-commerce person and you're listening to this, please go to that. Go to praxismetrics.com/10x. Follow this guy. Go watch his webinar, whatever you need to do. This stuff is so important. I barely get to touching on it in my consulting practice, so now I'm just going to start sending people to you. This stuff is super important. So, hey, thanks for being on, buddy. I appreciate it, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you in person in the future.
In person. Yeah, thanks for having me on, buddy. I love this. You're doing awesome work, and you're doing a great job with this podcast. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and nice to meet everybody.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with AJ Yager. Hopefully you took some nuggets out of there for your e-commerce business. If you think you're ready to work with them, head to praxismetrics.com, get on a free call with them. or praxismetrics.com/10x. Grab their ebook, or if you'd like, I'd be happy to make an introduction personally, as AJ and I chat often. So if you guys think you want that kind of data in your business, and you should, again, go to praxismetrics.com. Thanks for coming on, AJ. I appreciate it. For all of you that left a review or joined my mailing list at thebkshow.com, I appreciate it very, very much, and I will see all of you next Wednesday.